Chapter 1: The Blood Moon's Secret. The night bled red. A strange hush blanketed Silvervale as the blood moon climbed above the misty forest, casting the world in its eerie, crimson glow. The air shimmered with unease, as if the earth itself remembered a secret it dared not speak. From the stone cottages below, villagers whispered beneath their breath, crossing themselves and locking their doors before midnight struck. They always did this when the blood moon appeared, when the sky turned the same shade as spilled blood. They said it was the night of the cursed one. And somewhere on the far edge of the forest, Monica Blackthorn lifted her eyes to that same sky. She stood by her cottage window, her hands still stained with healing herbs, watching as the moonlight painted her pale skin silver red. Her heart thudded softly in her chest, steady, but not entirely human. "Another blood moon," she murmured, voice barely above a whisper. "And they still think the curse lives among them." She turned away before the reflection in the glass could betray her. The faint golden flicker in her eyes, too sharp, too unnatural. Monica lived quietly, tucked away among mortals who believed she was just the healer of Silvervale. The villagers came to her for medicine, never suspecting the strength behind her delicate hands or the way her senses sharpened with the wind. She smelled fear before it was spoken, heard heartbeats beneath walls, and could feel life pulsing through the roots beneath her feet. It was the wolf in her, and the hunger that lingered after dark. That was the vampire. Two halves, forever at war. She lit a candle on her desk, brushing a strand of raven-black hair behind her ear as she reached for her mortar and pestle. The scent of wolfsbane filled the room, sharp and bitter, and for a moment she smiled at the irony. Wolfsbane to heal wolves. Poison to save a life. That was the story of her existence too. A distant howl shattered the calm. It was deep, mournful, a warning. Monica froze. The air shifted, heavy with the metallic scent of blood. Her heart reacted before her mind did. Someone had crossed into the forest, and it wasn't human. She snatched her cloak, extinguished the candle, and slipped into the mist. The trees were her allies, their shadows bent to her movement, silent and swift. The deeper she went, the colder the air became, until even her breath turned white. Then she saw it. A body, or what was left of one, sprawled near the stream, throat torn open, blood mingling with the current. The corpse's eyes were wide with terror, the mark of fangs fresh on the skin. Vampire. Monica's pulse spiked. She crouched low, nostrils flaring. The scent was recent. Whoever did this was still here. Her instincts prickled. A faint rustle behind her. She turned just in time. A shadow lunged from the darkness, fangs bared, claws slicing the air. Monica dodged, rolling across the dirt and coming up in a crouch, her breath sharp. The vampire snarled, eyes wild and hungry. "You shouldn't be here, mortal," it hissed. "This forest belongs to the night." Monica's lips curved, revealing a flash of teeth that weren't entirely human. "Then the night should have known better than to invite me." Her body moved before she could think. Bones cracked. Sinews stretched, her pupils narrowed, nails lengthened into claws. Her canines extended, glinting under the red light. She wasn't shifting fully, she couldn't. The wolf inside her growled against the pull of the vampire's hunger, their energies clashing violently within her veins. She attacked. The fight was swift, brutal. Monica ducked under a strike, slashed at the vampire's chest, and drove her claws deep into his shoulder. He screamed, thrashing, but she twisted, pulling him forward and baring her fangs. Her bite sank into his neck. The taste of blood burned, sweet and wrong. Her body trembled. The taste was intoxicating. For a moment, the vampire in her rejoiced, until the wolf howled in fury, demanding restraint. She tore away, gasping. The vampire stumbled backward, clutching his throat, eyes wide in disbelief. "What are you?" he croaked. Monica's eyes glowed gold and crimson at once, Something you should have never awakened. She struck once more, ending him. His body disintegrated into ash. Silence fell. Only the stream whispered now, carrying his remains away. Monica wiped her mouth, staring at her bloodied hands, her chest heaving. The power surged violently under her skin, wild and electric, threatening to break her apart. She dug her nails into her palms until the urge passed. But then she felt it. The burn. A faint searing along her neck. She touched it and found a tiny mark glowing under the moonlight. The ancient sigil of her bloodline, the Moonblood curse. She closed her eyes, cursing softly under her breath. Not again. From somewhere behind her, the crack of a twig echoed. Her head snapped toward the sound, but saw only mist and shadow. Unseen, crouched high among the trees, the hunter watched. His bow trembled in his grip, the silver arrow poised but never released. His eyes were wide with horror. The rumors were true, he whispered. The Moonblood lives. He backed away quietly and vanished into the fog. Monica, unaware she'd been seen, turned toward home. Her pulse hadn't settled. The scent of another, darker, colder, still lingered on the wind. It wasn't the dead vampire, it was something older, more commanding. From deep within the forest, hidden beyond mortal sight, Damien Voss stood among the trees. The blood moon reflected in his crimson eyes as he watched her walk away. Wolf and vampire, in one body. He inhaled slowly, savoring the scent she left behind, the impossible mix of two rival species. A muscle ticked in his jaw, and for the first time in centuries, he felt his heart stir. So the legends were true, he murmured. The cursed child of Moonblood still walks this earth. The night wind whispered around him, carrying her fading heartbeat like a secret prayer. And far away, in the silver halls of the Werewolf Council, the hunter knelt before his alpha. His voice shook as he spoke the words that would change everything. I saw her. The hybrid. The Moonblood lives. The alpha's growl rumbled through the chamber, ancient and furious. Then we end her before she becomes what the prophecy warns. Outside, the blood moon burned brighter, as if mocking them all. And somewhere in the dark, Monica Blackthorn stood at her window again, unaware that the world she'd spent years hiding from had just begun to hunt her. Chapter 2. The King's Hunt. The vampire citadel never slept. Even under the pallid light of dawn, its towers shimmered like black crystal, piercing the clouds that hung over the crimson mountains. Within its heart stood the crimson throne, carved from obsidian and bound in ancient blood wards. It was said that whoever sat upon it could hear the heartbeat of every creature that entered the land. Tonight, that heartbeat belonged to Damien Voss, the vampire king. He sat upon his throne cloaked in shadow, his fingers tracing the edge of his silver goblet. The wine inside wasn't wine at all. It was blood, warm, fresh, and laced with something else. Regret. His gaze was cold, distant, as he stared at the reflection dancing within the crimson liquid. You seem restless, my lord, said a voice from the side. Damien didn't look up. He didn't have to. Restless is the word men use when they fear boredom, he replied, voice smooth as silk and sharp as ice. I fear nothing, but I do hate waiting. The speaker stepped forward, Lord Varen, Damien's oldest advisor, a gaunt, sharp-featured vampire whose loyalty was carved by centuries of servitude. He held a sealed parchment, its wax crest bearing the mark of the Night Sentinels. Varen knelt. A message from the outer regions, your majesty. The scouts have returned from Silvervale. Damien's gaze lifted slightly. And? Varen hesitated, then said quietly, they found evidence. The blood readings were unnatural, wolf scent mixed with that of our kind. Damien's fingers tightened on the goblet. A faint crack formed along its rim. Impossible, he murmured. The Moonbloods were wiped out generations ago. That is what we all believed. Varen's tone trembled slightly. But the scouts swear it. They saw a woman, perhaps in her 20s, moving through the woods. She fought off a rogue vampire with power no mortal should wield. For a moment there was silence, a stillness that pressed like cold iron. Then Damien rose slowly from his throne. The movement was elegant, but the air seemed to shudder around him. Shadows obeyed him like living things, curling across the floor as if afraid to touch his boots. Tell me what else they saw. She healed, fast. Her blood was said to glow under moonlight. They believe she carries the Moonblood curse. Varen bowed lower. Your Majesty, if this is true, the Moonblood must not awaken. The prophecy? I know the prophecy, Damien interrupted, his tone suddenly sharp. The torches around them flickered, reacting to the surge of his power. I also know that every prophecy begins with a lie and ends with blood. He began pacing slowly, one hand behind his back. My family's blood oath was meant to end the hybrid bloodline forever. My ancestor destroyed them all, or so he claimed. He turned, his crimson eyes gleaming. Perhaps he failed. My lord, Varen began cautiously, the curse was born from fear, Damien finished for him. Fear of what we could become if united instead of divided. His gaze grew distant again, lost in thought. Half-wolf, half-vampire, a bridge between two worlds, or a weapon capable of ending both. He paused, then gave a faint, humorless smile. Either way, I want to see her. Varen stiffened. You mean to go yourself? Yes, Damien said simply. If the Moonblood lives, I will find her. Then allow me to summon an escort. No, Damien cut him off, his voice low but commanding. I will go alone. Silvervale is small. Too many guards will attract attention. I'll travel under disguise. Varen's lips parted in protest. Sire, it's dangerous. Damien's smirk was chilling. Everything worth knowing is. He turned away, walking toward the high window overlooking the sleeping valley. The dawn was beginning to bleed through the clouds, washing the citadel in faint red. For a vampire, daylight meant death. Yet Damien stood there, unbothered, his body faintly shimmering with protective wards tattooed along his neck and arms. Old, forbidden sigils that only a true Voss could bear. You will tell the council nothing of this, he said quietly. If they learn I've gone after the hybrid, they'll move to destroy her before I arrive. I want her untouched. Varen swallowed hard. And if she becomes dangerous? Damien's eyes flicked toward him. Then I'll end her myself. He left the chamber then, his long coat flowing like liquid shadow behind him. The corridors of the vampire citadel were a maze of history. Walls etched with blood runes and ancient oaths. As Damien walked, the sound of his boots echoed, steady and haunting. Every guard he passed bowed deeply, eyes downcast. None dared meet his gaze. He entered the Hall of Judgment, a circular room with chain torches and a single marble chair in its center. A vampire knelt there, trembling, his wrists bound in silver cuffs. The scent of betrayal lingered thick in the air. Damien approached him calmly. You stole from the Crimson Treasury, he said, voice devoid of anger, and sold the location of our blood caravans to the wolves. Why? The prisoner's lips trembled. My lord, I was desperate. My family. Ah, Damien murmured, crouching before him. So you traded loyalty for mercy. He placed a hand on the vampire's chest. The man flinched but couldn't move. Damien's fingers pressed lightly, almost tenderly, and then his eyes flared red. The prisoner screamed as his memories spilled out, flashing in Damien's mind like shards of light. Betrayal, greed, fear, all of it played out within seconds. When it ended, Damien rose and released him. The vampire fell limp, eyes hollow. Desperation doesn't excuse treason, Damien said softly, wiping his hand with a silk cloth. But it does make for an interesting story. He turned to the guards. Dispose of him, leave no trace. They dragged the body away. Damien didn't look back. For him, feeding on memories wasn't just survival. It was control. It was knowledge, and knowledge was power. By the time night fell again, Damien had shed his crown and donned the robes of a noble merchant. His dark hair was tied back, his features softened by a faint illusion spell. To mortals, he would appear no more threatening than a charming aristocrat. But beneath the glamour, the king's hunger coiled like a serpent. The road to Silvervale was long and quiet. Mist curled around the path, and the moon, swollen and blood-red, rose again above the trees. He arrived at the edge of the village just as the last tavern lamps dimmed. The air smelled of pine, wet earth, and something else. Something alive. He felt it before he saw her. A heartbeat, steady, strong, and painfully familiar. Damien stopped, closing his eyes. The sound pulsed through his mind, resonating with the curse mark burned into his own wrist centuries ago. Every thud of her heart echoed in him, as if their blood remembered each other. Then he saw her. She moved across the narrow street, a hood over her dark hair, carrying a basket of herbs. The torchlight brushed her face, pale, fierce, and beautiful in a way that didn't belong to this world. There was grace in her step, power in the silence that followed her. Monica Blackthorn. The last Moonblood. Damien's throat tightened. He'd expected a monster. Instead, he saw a woman. Fragile and strong, light and shadow, contradiction in every heartbeat. And his control faltered. The curse mark on his wrist began to glow faintly beneath his sleeve, responding to her nearness. He clenched his fist, forcing it still, but the mark pulsed with her rhythm, her heartbeat syncing with his like a forgotten melody. She paused suddenly, eyes narrowing as if she felt it too. Her gaze turned toward the darkness where he stood. For one endless moment, their eyes met across the misty road. Predator and prey, curse and destiny. Then she turned and disappeared into the night, her cloak fluttering behind her. Damien exhaled slowly, a rare smile ghosting across his lips. So, the Moonblood truly lives. And somewhere deep within him, the ancient oath that bound his blood began to stir, whispering that his fate was now tied to hers. As Damien watched her vanish into the fog, the mark on his wrist burned crimson. He looked down, and saw the old curse sigil reawaken, glowing with her heartbeat. "She doesn't know it yet," he whispered to the wind, "but her blood calls to mine." Chapter 3. Whispers in the Woods. The morning air was cool, brushed with the scent of pine and damp earth. Silvervale's market bustled with soft chatter, the kind that hid superstition beneath polite greetings. Merchants called out, offering herbs, meat, and enchanted trinkets. Yet even among the noise, Monica could sense the unease that lingered, whispers about the blood moon that had just passed. She stood behind her small wooden stall, hands busy grinding a mix of dried roots and wild mint. Her cloak hood covered most of her face, but her eyes, bright, sharp, and alert, missed nothing. The villagers treated her kindly enough, though their politeness was laced with curiosity. Some swore she was blessed, others whispered she was cursed. Monica didn't bother to correct either belief. Better to be mystery than monster. A soft gust of wind swept through the street, carrying a strange scent. Metallic. Old. Monica froze. It wasn't human. Her wolf side stirred uneasily beneath her skin, pacing like a trapped animal. That was when she saw him. The stranger walked through the market with a quiet confidence that drew every gaze without effort. His dark coat swept behind him, and though his face was calm, there was something ancient in the way he moved, as if the world itself adjusted to his presence. His eyes, a shade too pale for comfort, scanned the market until they met hers. For a heartbeat, she forgot to breathe. He smiled faintly. "Pardon me, miss. I was told there's a healer here who knows the forest better than anyone." Monica blinked, forcing composure back into her voice. "That depends on who's asking." He inclined his head politely. "A traveler, named Damien Voss." He extended a gloved hand. She hesitated before shaking it. His skin was cool, too cool. I'm looking for a few rare herbs, he continued, his tone courteous but with an undercurrent of command. Bloodroot, wolfsbane, and nightshade if you have any. Monica's fingers stilled over the mortar. That's an odd combination for a traveler. Damien smiled again, the kind of smile that could charm or destroy depending on intent. I'm told they cure certain illnesses. She studied him. His accent was refined, foreign. The way he stood, the faint gleam of silver embroidery at his collar. Not a simple merchant, no matter what disguise he wore. And that scent, faintly of blood and smoke, but dulled, hidden beneath enchantment. You're not from Silvervale, she said slowly. No, he admitted. Passing through, the forest called to me. The way he said it made her chest tighten for reasons she couldn't name. She turned, selecting the herbs with deliberate slowness, needing the distraction. The forest doesn't call strangers, Mr. Voss. It devours them. He chuckled softly. Perhaps I enjoy being devoured. Her pulse skipped. She quickly handed him the small pouch of herbs. You'll need these for protection if you plan on staying near the woods after dark. His gaze lingered on her hands, small, graceful, but with the faint scars of someone who'd seen violence. And what protects you, healer? She met his eyes. I don't stay near the woods after dark. He could hear the lie in her voice, could sense the beast that trembled beneath her calm exterior. For a split second, he saw it. Her aura. Two energies pulsing in war within one soul. Wolf and vampire. A contradiction of nature. The prophecy whispered truth before him, clothed in human skin. So it's you, he thought. The Moonblood. But aloud, he only said, wise choice. The market began to thin as clouds rolled in, carrying the promise of rain. Monica packed her things quickly, aware that Damien's eyes followed her movements with quiet fascination. May I walk you home? He asked casually. She frowned. Silvervale women don't make habits of letting strangers follow them. Then perhaps I'll walk in the same direction by coincidence. Before she could protest, he'd already fallen into step beside her, hands clasped behind his back. They crossed the narrow bridge that led into the forest path, the mist thickening around them. For a while neither spoke. Only the crunch of leaves underfoot filled the silence. Finally, Monica asked, You're not really here for herbs, are you? Damien smiled faintly. And you're not just a healer. She shot him a wary glance. What makes you say that? The way you move, he said simply. You hear every sound before it happens. You sense what others don't. That isn't mortal instinct. Monica's steps slowed. You notice too much. I make it my business to, he replied, his tone soft but knowing. Don't worry, Miss Blackthorn. Your secrets are safe with me. She froze. You know my name? He turned to her, eyes gleaming faintly in the mist. I make it my business to know things too. Her wolf snarled inside, warning her to run. Yet her vampire side, the cold, curious half, wanted to stay, to study him. He was danger wrapped in silk, every word threaded with control. Before she could respond, the forest erupted in motion. A low growl echoed from the shadows, then another. Monica's head snapped toward the sound, her senses sharpening instantly. The scent of fur, musk, and rage filled the air. Wolves, but not her kind. These were wild, corrupted by magic. Damien turned slowly, his expression unreadable. Friends of yours? Hardly, she hissed, stepping in front of him. Stay behind me. 3 wolves burst from the trees, their eyes glowing yellow, fangs dripping venom. They circled the pair, growling low and menacing. Monica's pulse raced. If she shifted fully, Damien would know what she was, but if she didn't, he'd die. The lead wolf lunged. Monica spun, kicking out hard enough to send it crashing into a tree. The second slashed her arm, but she didn't cry out. She retaliated, claws flashing. Yes, claws. Her control slipped. She felt the transformation ripple beneath her skin, eyes burning gold. Damien stood still, watching in awe. He'd seen strength before, but never like this. Every movement of hers was fluid, both savage and graceful, her body caught between two instincts: wolf, vampire, monster, goddess. When the last wolf charged, she moved faster than any human could, grabbing its throat mid-leap and snapping its neck in one motion. It fell at her feet, lifeless. She stood over the bodies, chest heaving, blood dripping down her wrist. The wound on her arm closed before his eyes, smooth, perfect, impossible. Monica turned sharply toward him, panic flickering across her face. "You didn't see that," she whispered harshly. Damien met her gaze calmly. "I saw nothing. Except a woman who just saved my life." He took a cautious step forward, his voice gentle but laced with interest. "Whatever you are, you have nothing to fear from me." Her throat tightened. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand more than you think," he said quietly. "And if danger comes again, you'll have my protection, whether you want it or not." The words struck something deep in her. She didn't know why, but she believed him. The rain began to fall then, light and cold. Monica looked away, her hair clinging to her face. "You should leave Silvervale before the next moon. This place doesn't forgive strangers." He inclined his head slightly. "And yet, neither do I." That night Monica couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, staring into the storm. The image of Damien's pale eyes burned into her mind. There was something about him, something she couldn't name but couldn't ignore. His scent lingered in her memory like smoke and temptation. When she finally closed her eyes, the dreams came. A castle in flames. A woman screaming her name. "Monica! Run!" Blood spilling down marble steps, and a voice, deep and ancient, whispering, "The curse will awaken through you." She woke with a gasp, drenched in sweat, her heart hammering. The mark on her neck, the Moonblood sigil, glowed faintly beneath her skin before fading again. "What are you trying to tell me?" she whispered to the darkness. Across the village in an inn, Damien sat alone by the window. The storm cast reflections of lightning across his face. In his palm, a single droplet of blood shimmered. His own. He let it fall against the mark on his wrist. It hissed softly, the sigil glowing crimson as it absorbed the offering. "Now," he murmured, his lips curving in a dangerous smile, "no matter where you run, I'll always find you." The blood mark pulsed once, in perfect rhythm with her heartbeat across the forest. Chapter 4. Shadows of the Past. The storm had passed, leaving the world cloaked in silence. The forest glistened under a silver dawn, mist curling around the trees like breath from some sleeping god. Monica stepped outside her cottage, inhaling the damp air. Every sound seemed sharper, every scent stronger. The battle with the wolves had drained her, but it also awakened something inside, a pull she couldn't name. Or perhaps didn't want to. Inside, the fire had long gone out, yet the air felt heavy, almost expectant. She moved toward her mother's old chest, an ancient oak trunk bound by iron bands. It had sat there for years, untouched. Her mother had forbidden her to open it, said it contained nothing but sorrow. But sorrow was already her inheritance. With trembling hands, Monica lifted the lid. The hinges groaned softly. Inside lay a collection of old letters, a pendant shaped like a crescent moon, and a leather-bound journal wrapped in faded silk. The pages smelled of herbs and dust. She recognized the handwriting instantly. Graceful, deliberate, mother. To my daughter, Monica Blackthorn. If you're reading this, it means the curse has begun to stir again. Her mother's voice seemed to echo in her mind as she read on. We are descendants of the first union, the forbidden love between the vampire king, Lord Damien Voss, and a white-fanged she-wolf named Seraphine. Their bond defied the old gods, and for that, both races were damned. Valen's bloodline was cursed to eternal thirst, and Seraphine's descendants were marked, half-wolf, half-vampire, never belonging to either world. Monica's breath caught. Voss. The name stabbed at her heart. The traveler, Damien Voss. Could it be a coincidence or something crueler? She turned the page. The prophecy speaks of a child born under a crimson moon, the Moonblood, who carries both magics in perfect balance. She will either heal the divide or bring ruin to both clans. The curse will awaken when the two bloodlines meet again. Her hands trembled as she traced the words. The ink was smeared in places, as though written through tears. Beware the one who bears the mark of Valen's line. The final sentence read. His kiss is death, his touch the key. Monica shut the journal quickly, her pulse racing. Valen's line. Damien Voss. The name now felt like a wound. She stepped outside, clutching the journal to her chest. The forest whispered around her, branches creaking, unseen wings fluttering through the fog. She needed answers, needed to see the ruins her mother had spoken of. The place where it all began. The path wound deep into the woods, where the trees grew so tall they blotted out the sun. Hours passed before she found it. The remains of a great stone keep, half buried under ivy and thyme. The air was colder here, as if the earth itself remembered what had been done. She walked carefully over the cracked marble floor. Symbols were carved into the stone, spirals, crescents, and fangs entwined. Her fingers brushed one of the carvings and a jolt of energy shot through her veins. Her wolf snarled. Her vampire side hummed, two halves of herself pulling toward one center. In the silence she could almost hear voices, fragments of the past. Seraphine, don't go. Valen, they'll kill us both. Let them try. The air shimmered faintly, as if their memories had been trapped here. Monica sank to her knees, tears burning her eyes. She could feel their love, their desperation, the tragedy that had bled into her own life centuries later. I'm one of you, she whispered, and I don't even know who I am. Far from her, Damien Voss stood at the edge of the same ruins. He had arrived earlier that morning, drawn by whispers in the wind and the blood mark pulsing on his wrist. The place felt familiar, a haunting echo of dreams that weren't his. He knelt beside the crumbling archway, his gloved fingers brushing against a crest carved into stone, the insignia of his house. A serpent biting its own tail. Valen Voss. The first vampire king. His ancestor. The one who began it all. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, the world shifted. He saw flashes. A woman with silver hair screaming as fire consumed the halls, a man with crimson eyes reaching for her. He saw the blood oath forged in rage, the vow that separated vampire and wolf forever. And he heard the words that had haunted him since birth. The Moonblood will rise when our sins return to us. Opening his eyes, Damien exhaled shakily. So it was true. His family's curse had never died. It had been waiting for her. He could feel her energy pulsing faintly through the bond he'd created with that drop of blood. She was close, confused, awake. He should have turned back. But he didn't. By dusk, the mist had thickened again. Monica returned to her cottage, her mind spinning with what she'd learned. She tried to calm herself, lighting a few candles, the flickering light casting long shadows across the walls. The journal lay open beside her, pages whispering secrets she wasn't ready to face. A knock startled her. She froze. No one ever came this deep into the woods. When she opened the door, he was standing there, cloak damp from rain, eyes gleaming faintly in the candlelight. Mr. Voss, she said softly, her heart thudding. What are you doing here? He smiled faintly, but there was no humor in it. I wanted to thank you properly for saving my life. Her eyes narrowed. And you tracked me all the way here for that? Let's just say, he murmured, stepping closer, I have a good sense of direction. The air between them shifted, electric, dangerous. She could feel it again, that magnetic pull, the one that made her want to step closer even as every instinct screamed to run. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. Neither should you, he countered. His gaze dropped to the open journal on her table. Interesting reading? Her heart skipped. How did you? I've seen that sigil before, he said, his tone low. On the ruins in the forest. She swallowed hard. You've been there. He nodded slowly. I had to see it for myself. The curse, the stories, they're not just myth, they're history. Then, softer. Our history. She stepped back, her pulse racing. What do you mean our? He hesitated, the truth burning at the edge of his tongue, but centuries of loyalty and secrecy chained him. It's complicated, he said finally. Then simplify it, she snapped, her eyes glowing faintly gold. He met her gaze, and something raw flickered across his face. My family had a hand in what happened to yours. The curse, it began with my ancestor, Damien Voss. Monica's breath hitched, the journal's words echoed in her mind. Beware the one who bears the mark of Valen's line. You're his descendant, she whispered. Yes, he said, voice almost a confession. And you're hers. They stood in silence, centuries of pain vibrating between them. The air thickened until even breathing felt dangerous. Monica's voice trembled. So what now? You kill me to finish what he started. Damien stepped forward, his expression unreadable. If I wanted you dead, Monica, I wouldn't be standing here fighting the urge to protect you. Her eyes softened just for a moment. Then why are you here? He exhaled. Because every time I'm near you, I feel the curse stir. And yet, it doesn't feel like damnation. It feels like destiny. For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then, her hand brushed his. It was barely a touch, skin against skin. Yet the world seemed to explode in light. A searing pain shot through both of them. They gasped as identical symbols burned across their wrists. A crescent entwined with fangs, glowing blood red. The mark of the Moonblood curse. The candles flickered violently. The room trembled as if the earth itself recognized the ancient union. Damien caught her as her knees buckled. Their marks pulsed in unison. Heartbeat to heartbeat. His voice was strained, almost reverent. It's begun. Monica's eyes fluttered open, her voice trembling. What have you done? He looked down at their joined hands, the marks still burning. Not me, he said softly. Us. Chapter 5. The Awakening. The night was unnaturally still. No wind, no whispers, only the heavy breath of the forest waiting for something to break. Monica stood by her window, staring into the darkness that seemed to breathe back at her. Since the mark had burned onto her skin, her body hadn't felt like her own. Her heart thudded to a rhythm that wasn't entirely human. Her senses were sharper, the pull toward the shadows stronger, and beneath it all, she felt him. Damien. Even when he wasn't there, his presence lingered in her veins, humming like an ancient melody she couldn't silence. She pressed her palm against her wrist, tracing the faint outline of the curse mark beneath her sleeve. What am I becoming? She whispered. The answer came in the form of movement. Faint, quick, and wrong. She turned toward the forest. The scent hit her before the sound. Silver, blood, and fury. Hunters. Her pulse spiked. They were close. A mile away, Damien was already moving through the trees at impossible speed, his cloak snapping behind him like wings. He'd scented them too, the werewolf trackers sent by their council. He could hear their minds, their bloodlust echoing through the night. Find the hybrid. Bring her alive. If she resists, end her. He bared his fangs, fury slicing through the calm he usually wore. They won't touch her, he growled, voice barely human. The bond mark on his wrist flared painfully, guiding him to her. To his cursed fate. Back at the cottage, Monica grabbed the dagger her mother had left her and stepped outside. The forest was alive now, rustling, moving, breathing with predators. From the shadows, 3 wolves emerged, eyes burning gold, bodies rippling with muscle. Behind them, 2 human hunters loaded crossbows with silver-tipped bolts. Monica Blackthorn, one of them called, voice hard. By order of the Werewolf Council, you are under arrest for crimes against the Blood Pact. Her voice was steady, but her heart wasn't. Crimes? She repeated. For being born? Your kind isn't meant to exist. The man replied coldly. You're an abomination, a stain we've waited centuries to erase. Her grip on the dagger tightened. Then come try. The first wolf lunged. Monica spun, slashing across his flank with inhuman speed. Another leaped, jaws wide. She ducked, driving her blade into its side. The smell of burning fur and blood filled the air. But there were too many. One bolt grazed her shoulder, silver burning through her flesh. She screamed, but the sound that tore out of her throat wasn't human. It was something primal, ancient and wild. The earth trembled, the air pulsed, and Monica changed. Her fangs lengthened, merging with her wolf's canines. Her nails darkened into claws, her eyes blazing with molten gold streaked with crimson. Her heartbeat doubled, her veins glowing faintly under her skin. The hunters faltered. One whispered, terrified, "Gods, what is she?" Monica's answer was a roar that shattered the silence. She moved faster than their eyes could follow, disarming, slashing, striking, until only screams filled the forest. Then it came, the sound. A scream so piercing it split the night, not of rage, but power. The sonic force rippled outward, shaking the trees and splintering stone. The wolves nearest her dropped instantly, blood seeping from their ears. The others stumbled back, disoriented. Monica collapsed to her knees, gasping. The power still surged in her, uncontained, burning to be released again. That's when Damien arrived. He burst from the trees, eyes glowing like a dying star. The scene before him was chaos. Bodies strewn across the clearing, air thick with blood and fear, and at its center, Monica, trembling, wild, dangerous. He approached slowly, his instincts screaming both kill and protect. "Monica," he called, voice low, calm. "Look at me." Her head snapped up, eyes feral. "Stay back," she growled, voice layered with two tones, her wolf and her vampire battling for control. "I can't stop it." "You don't have to," he said softly, stepping closer. She shook her head violently. "You don't understand." "I do," he whispered, "because it's my curse too." When she lunged, not at him but at herself, he caught her wrists and held her still. Her power surged through him, burning and cold all at once. He didn't let go. "Listen to me," he said through gritted teeth. "You're losing control because your blood is rejecting itself. You have to stabilize it." "How?" she cried. He hesitated for a fraction of a second before answering. "With mine." Her eyes widened, but before she could protest, he bit his own wrist, fangs piercing skin, and pressed it to her lips. "Drink," he commanded. She resisted, but the scent of his blood, rich, ancient, electric, overwhelmed her. She obeyed. The moment his blood touched her tongue, her entire body convulsed. The chaos inside her began to shift. Two sides of her warring nature meeting in violent harmony. Her claws retracted, her breathing steadied, the light in her veins dimmed to a soft glow. Damien held her through it all, his face inches from hers, his voice a whisper against her ear. "You're not supposed to exist," he murmured, his words trembling. "And yet, you're everything I've ever wanted." Her lashes fluttered, her lips stained crimson. "You shouldn't have done that," she breathed weakly. "Too late," he said. "We're bound now, more than before." She sagged against him, unconscious. The mark on both their wrists pulsed once, synchronizing, sealing their bond. He lifted her easily, carrying her back toward the cottage as rain began to fall again. Under the blood-colored moonlight, the forest washed itself clean of death. Far away, deep within the vampire citadel, the council chamber was alive with whispers. The elders sat in a semicircle of obsidian thrones, faces pale and grave. One of them, a tall, silver-haired vampire named Lord Corvin, stood, holding a blood-stained message. "The report is confirmed," he said, his voice echoing. "The hybrid lives." Another elder hissed. "Impossible. The Moonblood was destroyed centuries ago." Corvin's lips curled into a smile. and yet the curse mark has awakened. Our spies say the king himself has taken interest. Gasps rippled through the chamber. One voice rose, sharp and fearful. If the prophecy is real, then she is the key to the end of us all. The chamber fell silent. Then Corvin spoke the words that sealed the next chapter of war. Then the king must be watched, and the hybrid destroyed before the blood moon rises again. Chapter 6: The Vampire's Betrayal. The Crimson Citadel rose like a bleeding wound against the twilight. Its blackened towers pierced the mist-choked sky, glimmering faintly under the pale red moon. Within its walls, the air smelled of old blood, iron, and judgment. Damien stood before the Vampire Council, 7 ancient beings draped in silks darker than sin. His hands were bound behind his back by silver-threaded chains, their burn eating into his skin. He didn't flinch. Lord Corvin, the eldest and cruelest of them all, circled him like a serpent that had waited centuries to strike. His eyes gleamed with hatred and hunger. Damien Thorn, Corvin's voice echoed, sharp as a blade. You were ordered to eliminate the hybrid before her power awakened. Yet, you disobeyed. You shielded her. You let her live. Damien's jaw clenched. He could still taste Monica's blood on his tongue, the moment her life had nearly slipped away, when he'd chosen to save her instead of obeying. She was not what you said she was, he answered, his tone calm but lethal. The hybrid was unstable. Killing her would have unleashed something far worse. Corvin laughed, a chilling sound that made the guards stiffen. Worse than your betrayal? You broke the blood oath, boy. You defied the council. You've tainted the order that has existed for 1,000 years. Behind him, the other counselors whispered among themselves. Words like traitor and contaminated floated through the chamber. Damien stood taller. He had expected this. He just hadn't expected the bond to react so violently. The mark on his chest, the blood sigil, pulsed beneath his skin, burning every time he thought of her. He could feel her heartbeat miles away, her confusion, her fear. The link they'd formed when his blood touched hers had become something no vampire spell could sever. Damien swallowed hard. He couldn't tell them that. If they discovered the truth, they wouldn't just kill him. They would hunt Monica to extinction. Lord Corvin leaned closer. Do you deny the charge? I do not, Damien said evenly. But I acted for the protection of our kind. Lies. Corvin's smile thinned. You acted for lust, for weakness. You fell for the scent of corrupted blood. The word lust echoed like venom in the hall. The younger vampires sneered. The elders exchanged dark looks. Damien's fangs ached to bare themselves, but he restrained the urge. Enough, Corvin barked. For your defiance, you will face the chains of penance. Should you survive, you will serve under the council's eye until deemed loyal again. Should you perish? He paused, savoring the silence. You will serve in death. Damien's eyes flickered crimson. He didn't bow, didn't beg. Do what you must. The guards moved in, fastening glowing silver chains around his torso. The burn was instant, searing his flesh. He bit down hard, refusing to scream. But deep within his mind, through the unholy thread that linked them, Monica stirred. Miles away, sunlight spilled weakly into Monica's small cottage at the edge of Silvervale. She woke with a gasp. The air was thick, her throat dry, her pulse racing. Sweat drenched her skin, and her body trembled uncontrollably. Her heart beat too fast. Her senses were wrong, sharp, overstimulated. She could hear every creak in the wood, every flutter of wings outside, even the faint heartbeat of a deer grazing half a mile away. Her breath hitched. What's happening to me? She whispered. She stumbled toward the window. But the moment sunlight touched her hand, it hissed against her skin. The pain was sharp, burning, alien. She yanked it back, watching a red welt rise and fade just as quickly. Her reflection in the glass made her freeze. Her eyes, they weren't the soft brown she knew. They glowed faintly gold, rimmed with crimson. Her stomach turned. A metallic scent filled her nose. Blood. On the floor near her bed, the sheets were torn and her nails or claws were stained dark. She didn't remember transforming. She didn't even remember sleeping. And yet, there was a heartbeat in her head that wasn't hers. A deep, steady rhythm, strained and pained. Damien. She didn't know how she knew it was him. She just did. Memories that weren't hers flashed through her mind. Cold stone, the crackle of firelight, the echo of Corvin's laughter. Pain that scorched her back though no one touched her. Monica gasped and grabbed her wrist. A strange mark was forming there. A thin red line shaped like a chain, glowing faintly beneath her skin. Damien, she whispered, fear and anger colliding. Her body craved blood, not for hunger, but for power. She could feel it calling to her, whispering that only his blood could calm the chaos growing inside. She stumbled outside, wrapping herself in a cloak. The forest around Silvervale was eerily quiet, as if even the wind held its breath. Birds didn't sing, wolves didn't howl. The air was thick with dread. Every instinct told her to run, but run where? Then a surge of agony struck through her chest. She fell to her knees, clutching her ribs. Somewhere far away, Damien screamed. The sound wasn't in her ears, but in her mind. She saw flashes again, silver chains biting into his flesh, his fangs bared in pain, his eyes glowing crimson. No, she choked, tears streaking her face. They're hurting him. She felt his resolve, cold and defiant, even through the agony. He was refusing to yield, refusing to expose her. And the bond, that cursed sacred thread, transmitted every spark of pain directly into her veins. Monica crawled toward the nearest stream, plunging her hands into the cold water. The surface rippled, reflecting her trembling face, but this time, her reflection shifted. For an instant she saw Damien through her eyes, bound, chained, kneeling before the council. The mark on his chest burned with the same red glow, now pulsing at her wrist. Her breath caught. Their pain was one. Their fates were one. She screamed and the forest trembled with it. Birds took flight. The sky itself seemed to darken. Somewhere, something ancient heard her call. The water around her rippled red, blood seeping from her palm though she wasn't wounded. The mark on her wrist spread, veins darkening. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. Don't let them kill him. The bond flared like fire. She saw him again, Corvin raising the branding iron, silver dripping from its edges. The metal touched Damien's skin, his body convulsed, and Monica's own wrist split open in the exact same pattern. Silver lines burned into her flesh, glowing hot. She screamed his name until her throat bled. Then, silence. The vision faded, the water stilled. Her body trembled as if every nerve had been scorched. She clutched her burned wrist to her chest and gasped for air. Her heart pounded, echoing Damien's weakened rhythm. Her mind filled with a single horrifying realization. If the council could do this to him, they would do far worse to her. She couldn't stay here. Silvervale was no longer safe. Not for her, not for anyone she cared about. Her reflection stared back at her again, eyes glowing brighter, skin pale as bone, veins faintly dark beneath the surface. She wasn't just part vampire anymore. She wasn't just wolf. She was something new, something the world wasn't ready for. And the bond? It wasn't weakening. It was growing. Monica rose shakily to her feet, cloak brushing against the damp earth. Hold on, Damien, she murmured. I'll find you. I swear it. But far away in the Crimson Citadel, Lord Corvin smiled as blood dripped from the silver brand. The bond is confirmed, he whispered to the others. The hybrid lives. The vampire has fallen. And in that instant, Monica's mark pulsed once, bright and defiant, as if her very blood refused to obey fate. Monica's wrist bled freely now, the mark shimmering crimson. The pain was unbearable, but she didn't stop. Somewhere beyond the mountains, a vampire's scream still echoed in her mind, and she knew their war had only just begun. Chapter 7, Blood Ties. Rain fell over Silvervale like liquid ash, cold, thick, and endless. Monica stood at her window, watching the horizon tremble beneath the storm. The pain in her wrist hadn't stopped since the night she'd felt Damien's branding. The silver scars still glowed faintly, a reminder of their connection and his suffering. Every heartbeat she felt wasn't her own, it was his. Slow, weak, caged. Her reflection in the glass was no longer familiar. Her once warm eyes were now an unnatural shade of crimson gold, glowing faintly even in the darkness. Her pulse carried the rhythm of something ancient, a mingling of predator instincts, both wolf and vampire. She couldn't stay still any longer. The moment her boots touched the wet soil outside, the forest shifted around her, every rustle amplified, every scent vivid. Blood, fear, silver, and far beyond that, Hun. Monica closed her eyes and followed the pull. The bond tugged at her chest, guiding her north toward the citadel's direction. Each step made her body ache, and her blood hum like a storm waiting to break. The wind whispered warnings, wolves howling distantly, hunters moving through the trees, but she didn't care. The closer she got, the stronger the ache in her veins became, until it was no longer just a pull, but a command. She ran faster. Her hybrid speed blurred her through the trees. Shadows bent with her movement, branches splitting as her claws scraped bark. When she stopped at the citadel's cliff edge, the sight below made her breath catch. The vampire citadel stood carved into the mountainside, its towers glowing with crimson veins of light, like living arteries. The air stank of blood magic and decay. A normal person would have fainted just standing here. But Monica wasn't normal anymore. Deep within the citadel, Damien Voss hung from silver chains in a dungeon carved of black stone. Every link hissed against his skin, draining his strength, feeding on his immortal blood. He hadn't fed in days. His fangs were dull with thirst, his lips cracked. But even in agony, his eyes burned with defiance. "You could have ruled with us," Lord Corvin taunted from outside the cell. "Instead, you fall for a monster." Damien smirked weakly. "You talk too much." Corvin's fist struck across his jaw, snapping his head to the side. Blood dripped from his mouth, thick, dark, potent. The floor drank it greedily. "You think she'll come for you?" Corvin hissed. "The hybrid doesn't care. She's a weapon, not a woman." But Damien didn't answer, because deep down, beneath the pain, he could feel her coming. Every step closer sent electricity through the chains, heating the silver until smoke rose from his flesh. He bit back a growl. "Monica," he whispered under his breath, "don't you dare come here." Monica crouched on the citadel wall, her cloak soaked through, her heartbeat synced with his. Every sense screamed danger, but her instincts, both wolf and vampire, worked in perfect unison. She scaled the wall silently, gripping stone like it were silk. The guards above never saw her. Her movements were fluid, predatory. Her eyes glowed faintly as she slipped into the hallways, following the scent of old blood and silver. The deeper she went, the stronger the pain became. Her wrist burned hotter, and her vision blurred. Then she saw it. The dungeon door, sealed by a blood rune. She didn't hesitate. She pressed her palm against the sigil, whispering words that came to her in an unfamiliar voice. The language of her ancestors, Moonblood magic reborn. The rune cracked. The door burst open with a low, thunderous growl that echoed down the corridor. Inside, Damien's head snapped up, disbelief in his eyes. She stood in the doorway, hair wild, cloak torn, eyes blazing with gold and crimson fire. "Monica," he rasped, voice hoarse, "you shouldn't be here," she cut in, stepping closer. "Then stop me." The bond pulsed violently, the air shimmering around them. The silver chains binding him rattled, reacting to the surge of hybrid energy. He gritted his teeth. Get out. They'll kill you. Her fingers brushed his chest where the chains met flesh, and at her touch, the metal hissed, melting into liquid silver that dripped to the floor. Power exploded through the cell. Damien gasped as the mark on his chest flared red, while Monica's wrist blazed like molten gold. Their blood bond awakened fully, energy weaving between them in arcs of crimson light. The chains shattered. He fell forward, collapsing against her. She caught him. Barely. Their bodies pressed close, his cold skin against her fevered one. You came, he whispered, voice low and raw. Couldn't stay away, she breathed. He tilted his head, his fangs glinting. You don't understand what this means. Then explain it, she challenged, gripping his arm. But words weren't what came next. He was weak, his wounds deep, so when she sliced her palm open and pressed it to his mouth, he froze. Drink, she said softly, before it's too late. He hesitated, then his restraint shattered. His lips met her palm, his fangs grazing skin, and her blood flowed into him like fire. Monica gasped as the bond flared again. Heat, power, something intimate and dangerous intertwining between them. Her pulse merged with his, her body trembling as he fed. When he pulled back, crimson staining his lips, his wounds had already begun to heal. You risked everything, he murmured. So did you, she said, voice shaking. We're even. They stared at each other, breathing hard. The space between them crackled with tension, hunger, fear, and something deeper neither could name. Tell me you'll run, he said quietly. Leave before they find us. I'm not leaving you, Damien. He stepped closer, his hand lifting to brush her face. Then you're damning us both. Maybe we were already damned. Their eyes locked, predator and prey, sinner and salvation. And then the citadel roared. The bells above rang loud, shattering the silence. Guards shouted. The floor trembled with footsteps. Damien's gaze snapped upward, fury replacing tenderness. They know. Monica turned toward the door, claws extending. Then we fight. He caught her wrist, holding her still. You don't understand. It's not just vampires. The wolves will come too. You're worth more dead than alive. Her heart pounded. They want me that badly? No. His eyes darkened. They want your bloodline. A metallic hiss echoed through the hallways as the alarm bells rang again, one long final toll that carried across the mountains. Far away, bounty scrolls were being sealed with blood. The decree spread across the supernatural world. The Moonblood is alive. Bring her heart and earn your salvation. Chapter 8. The Hunt. The night spread thick and heavy across the borderlands, a living shadow that clung to every rock, every branch, every breath. Monica and Damien moved silently through the wilderness, their footsteps swallowed by the wind. Behind them, the world burned. The citadel bells still echoed faintly in the distance, but they didn't dare look back. The vampire council had unleashed their soldiers. The werewolf packs had joined the hunt. For the first time in centuries, the two clans united. Not for peace, but for her blood. Monica's cloak was torn and blood-stained, her heartbeat steady but fierce. She could hear them, faint howls in the distance, the clanging of blades, the hiss of vampire scouts closing in. Every instinct screamed to run faster. Don't stop, Damien murmured, his voice rough with exhaustion. The tunnels aren't far. She glanced sideways at him. He was limping, one hand pressed against his ribs where silver had burned him earlier. His pale skin was smeared with soot and blood. He still moved like a predator, graceful even in pain. You're bleeding again, she said. He smirked faintly. I've had worse. You'll have none if you keep pretending you're immortal. I am immortal. She shot him a sharp look. You're stubborn, not immortal. Despite everything, the blood, the fear, the death chasing them, he almost smiled. Her defiance reminded him of what had drawn him to her in the first place. When they finally reached the edge of the dead forest, the air changed. It grew colder, heavier, laced with a scent of decay and old magic. The trees here were twisted into unnatural shapes, their roots blackened like veins of tar. Monica hesitated. "You're sure this is the way?" "No," he said honestly, "but it's the only path they won't follow." Lightning flashed in the distance, illuminating miles of scorched earth. The storm was coming closer, as if the heavens themselves were chasing them. They pushed deeper into the forest until they found it, a sunken archway carved into the earth, half buried under roots and moss. Symbols glowed faintly on the stone, the sigils of the first blood oath. "The catacombs," Damien said quietly, "older than both our kinds. Then they're cursed." He gave her a dark look. "Everything that keeps us alive is cursed." They entered. The tunnel swallowed them whole, cold, damp, endless. The air buzzed with ancient whispers. The walls were covered in markings neither could fully understand, but Monica felt them vibrating against her skin, recognizing her blood like a key. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. For hours they walked in silence. Only when they stopped to rest did the tension between them finally break. Damien sat with his back against the wall, wiping blood from his mouth. "You need to feed." Monica frowned. "I'm fine." "You're not. You haven't fed since Silvervale. I can smell it, your hunger." Her jaw clenched. "I said I'm fine." He rose slowly, his gaze piercing through the dark. "You think denying what you are will make it go away?" She glared at him. "And you think giving in makes it noble?" For a moment they stood there, predator facing predator. The silence between them was electric. The air hummed with unspoken desire and danger. Finally, he moved closer, close enough for her to feel the chill of his breath on her neck. "Your wolf side craves control," he murmured, "but your vampire side craves surrender. You'll have to choose which one rules you." Her pulse quickened. "And what if I don't want to choose? Then it'll destroy you." His voice was low, a warning and a promise all at once. She turned away, her fists clenched. But deep inside she knew he was right. The hunger was getting worse, not just for blood, but for something else entirely. Something she didn't understand. Moments later, a faint growl echoed through the tunnels. Wolves. Dozens of them. The sound of claws scraping stone filled the air, followed by the stench of fur and blood. Monica's eyes flashed gold, her instincts surging forward. "They found us," she hissed. "Run," Damien ordered. They sprinted through the tunnels, their footsteps pounding against the stone. Arrows clattered around them, some tipped with silver. Monica spun, deflecting one with her clawed hand, then launched herself at the nearest attacker, a werewolf in human form. Her claws ripped through him like lightning. She barely recognized herself anymore. Damien was beside her, striking with deadly precision, his movements a blur of shadow and red light. For every wolf they cut down, more appeared. "This way," he shouted, grabbing her hand. They dove into a narrow passage, the walls closing in tight. They ran until the sounds behind them faded. When they finally stopped, both were gasping. Monica leaned against the wall, blood streaking her face. "We can't keep running." "I'm open to better ideas," Damien muttered. She turned toward him and suddenly realized how close they were. His hand was still around her wrist, his breath brushing her lips. The moment froze. Her heart thundered, the scent of his blood overwhelming her senses. His pupils dilated, hunger flickering behind them. "Monica," he whispered, his voice breaking slightly. "If you look at me like that again, I won't stop." Her lips parted. "Maybe I don't want you to." He leaned in, their mouths a breath apart, but before they could close the distance, a howl shattered the silence. Wolves, closer than before. The moments snapped. They broke apart instantly, instincts taking over again. "This way," Monica said, her eyes catching a faint glow up ahead. They followed it until they reached a wide chamber, its center dominated by a circular stone platform covered in runes. The air was thick with power. Monica stepped forward, drawn by an invisible force. "Don't touch anything," Damien warned. "This place reeks of old magic." But she didn't stop. The markings pulsed under her feet, reacting to her presence. Her veins glowed faintly red, her hands trembling. "Something's calling me," she whispered. "Monica, stop." Too late. Her palm brushed the center rune. Instantly the chamber lit up, blood-red light shooting through the carvings. The air trembled. Damien lunged forward, grabbing her hand, but the moment their blood mixed, the sigils exploded into a vortex of crimson smoke. Whispers filled the air, thousands of voices overlapping, echoing from the walls and the very earth beneath them. "Awaken what sleeps. The blood remembers. The curse lives again." Monica fell to her knees, clutching her head. Visions flooded her mind, flames, screams, a throne made of bone and ash. Damien pulled her back, shaking her. "Monica! What did you do?" she gasped, eyes wide with terror and awe. "I didn't open it. It opened for me." The chamber rumbled. Cracks spread through the ceiling as ancient magic stirred, older than the curse itself. And deep beneath the catacombs something shifted, something vast, waking from slumber. The whispers grew louder, echoing through the tunnels like a heartbeat. "Awaken what sleeps." The ground split open beneath them, releasing a cold wind that smelled of death and destiny. Chapter 9. The Witch of Ashvale. The night air carried the scent of burnt pine and blood. Damien's boots sank into the moss as he trudged up the steep, fog-covered trail, Monica's limp body cradled in his arms. Her skin was ice-cold, her heartbeat faint but present, a fragile rhythm that kept him from losing what little sanity he had left. They had escaped the hunters, but at a devastating cost. Monica's power had flared uncontrollably after she unleashed the seal in the catacombs. The ground itself had trembled, and a voice, ancient, venomous, had whispered through the darkness, "Awaken what sleeps." Now, her veins glowed faintly gold beneath her skin, pulsing like veins of molten light. At the top of the mountain, a circle of witches awaited. Cloaked in ash-gray robes, their eyes glimmered faintly with symbols of the moon and fire. The leader stepped forward, tall, statuesque, with white hair that shimmered like frost and irises the color of dying embers. "Lysandra," Damien rasped, "I need your help." The Witch Queen studied Monica's unconscious form before flicking her gaze back to Damien. "You brought the cursed blood here," she said in a tone that carried both awe and disdain. "Do you realize what you've done, vampire?" "She's dying," Damien said, his voice sharp, desperate. "You can save her." Lysandra's lips curled into something resembling pity. "Save her?" she whispered, kneeling beside Monica. "Child, she doesn't need saving, she's becoming." With a wave of her hand, a circle of blue fire surrounded Monica. Symbols carved into the rock beneath her lit up in response, swirling like a heartbeat. Monica gasped, once, twice, before her back arched and she screamed. Damien moved forward, but two witches restrained him. "You'll interfere with the ritual," one shouted. "Let me go, she's in pain." "She must endure it," Lysandra said firmly. "It is her blood remembering." The fire danced higher, curling into shapes, wolves with crimson eyes, serpents of smoke, a crown of bones. Monica's body trembled violently, and for a moment her eyes opened, glowing gold and red, twin suns of rage and confusion. "What's happening to me?" she choked out. Lysandra's expression softened. "Your lineage is awakening, Moonblood." The first vampire king and the White Fang wolf joined their curses through love and hatred. You are their echo. Damien's chest tightened. "The curse that destroyed both races?" "The same," Lysandra confirmed. "But your union vampire has reignited it." Hours later, Monica lay resting on a bed of woven vines inside the witch's sanctuary. The room smelled of herbs and old parchment. Damien sat beside her, staring at his hands, still marked from the silver chains of the council. He could feel her heartbeat inside him now, Not metaphorically, but literally. Their blood link had deepened beyond his control. When Monica stirred, he was already on his feet. "Where are we?" she murmured, her voice hoarse. "Ashvale," he said softly. "You passed out after whatever happened down there." Her eyes found his, confusion giving way to suspicion. "You brought me here?" He nodded. "To the witches." She stiffened. "You shouldn't have, they hate both our kinds." "They're neutral," he said. "And they might have answers." Monica swung her legs off the bed. "Answers about what? That I'm some kind of cursed abomination?" He caught her wrist before she could move away. "You're not an abomination." "Then what am I, Damien?" she snapped. "I killed men without meaning to. I opened doors that were never meant to open. My body, my blood, it's changing, and you keep hiding things from me." Before he could respond, the door creaked open. Lysandra entered, her long gown whispering across the floor like wind. "Perhaps I should answer that," she said calmly. Lysandra waved her hand, and the candles flickered. The walls shimmered to reveal a swirling mirror of blood and mist, an ancient vision. Within it, Monica saw two figures, a vampire king draped in shadow, and a white-haired werewolf queen, their hands entwined over a pool of blood. "The Moonblood curse was born of love that defied the gods," Lysandra said. "They sought to unite their worlds, vampire and wolf, through a child. But the gods cursed their bloodline. Every union between the two would summon the devourer, the beast of the end." Monica's throat went dry. "The thing beneath the ruins." "Yes," Lysandra said gravely. "You are the last Moonblood, Monica. And your blood is the key to either sealing or freeing it." Damien's jaw clenched. "And if she seals it, she dies," Lysandra said simply. "The curse demands blood for blood." Silence filled the room, thick as fog. Monica turned to Damien, her eyes glistening with anger and disbelief. "You knew, didn't you?" "I didn't," he began. "Don't lie to me." Lysandra intervened, her tone eerily soft. "He knows more than he tells. The curse ties your destinies together. His ancestor, Lord Kale of the Crimson Bloodline, was the one who condemned your mother's people to extinction." Monica took a step back, shaking her head. "No." Damien looked away, guilt slicing through his chest. "It's true." "Then this," she gestured between them, "is just history repeating itself." "It doesn't have to be," he said hoarsely, stepping forward. "I'll protect you, even if I have to fight fate itself." Her voice trembled. "You can't fight destiny, Damien." "I can damn well try." The tension between them was electric, unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. Lysandra watched them with something like sadness. "The blood moon rises soon," she said quietly. "If you stay together, one of you will die beneath it. That is the prophecy's law." Monica's breath hitched. "And if we don't?" "The devourer will rise and Silvervale will burn." A cold dread spread through the room. Thunder cracked outside, rattling the mountain walls. Monica turned to Lysandra, her voice small but steady. "Then what do we do?" Lysandra's eyes glowed faintly. "Prepare. Choose your side, because the end is coming sooner than either of you think." As they left the chamber, the witch queen lingered before her cauldron, watching the blood swirl into shapes of flame and fangs. Her whisper carried through the wind like an omen. "The devourer stirs. Silvervale will burn within 7 nights." Outside, Monica looked toward the horizon. The moon was bleeding red. Damien's hand brushed hers, and for a moment, their pulses synchronized, hearts beating as one. Neither noticed the shadow that moved in the distance. Massive, ancient, awakening. Chapter 10. Ashes of Silvervale. Smoke rolled over the hills like dark ocean waves, thick with the scent of blood and burnt fur. The once quiet town of Silvervale, Monica's home, was now a graveyard of shattered homes and crimson-soaked earth. The fires painted the night sky a vicious orange, licking at the clouds like hungry beasts. Monica stood at the edge of the valley, her cloak whipping around her in the hot wind. Her throat ached, her heart split open at the sight before her. "They destroyed everything," she whispered, her voice raw. "My home, my people." Behind her, Damien stepped forward, eyes glinting with restrained fury. "The councils did this," he said bitterly. "Vampires and wolves both. They've united, if only long enough to wipe us out." Monica's fingers curled into fists. They were never meant to unite for peace, only blood. The faint crackle of the burning village was the only sound between them. Then, without a word, Monica began to descend the hill. Damien reached for her arm. "Monica, wait." "I'm done running," she said sharply. "If they want the Moonblood, they'll face her." Damien's jaw tightened. "Then you won't go alone." They moved through the ruins like shadows. The streets of Silvervale were littered with bodies, both wolves and vampires, the air alive with the metallic tang of blood. Monica's chest tightened as she recognized familiar faces among the dead. Neighbors, elders, even children who once played near the river. The pain sharpened into something dark, primal. At the center of the chaos stood a cluster of hunters, wolves in silver-plated armor, blades gleaming with moonlight. At their head was a tall, scarred man with cold, familiar eyes. Monica froze. "Uncle Aldrich," she breathed. The man turned, surprise flickering in his eyes for only a moment before his face hardened. "Monica," he said, voice gravelly. "You should have stayed dead." Her blood ran cold. "You knew?" she asked, stepping closer. "You knew what they were doing? You knew they burned my mother's home, that they hunted her?" "She defied the Alpha Council," Aldrich replied, raising his silver spear. "Your mother's blood cursed this world, and now you carry her sin. It ends tonight." Damien's fangs extended in warning. "You'll regret raising that weapon." "Stay out of this, leech," Aldrich spat. "This is family business." Monica's controls snapped. "Family?" Her voice trembled, the ground beneath her feet cracking. "You slaughtered your own kin." Aldrich lunged first, silver spear cutting through the smoke. Monica dodged with inhuman speed, claws unsheathing, eyes blazing gold and crimson. The two clashed violently, silver against hybrid flesh, sparks and blood flying. Damien tried to intervene, but Monica roared, her voice layered with the growl of a wolf and the hiss of a vampire. "He's mine!" She moved like a storm, faster than thought, stronger than rage. Her claws ripped through Aldrich's armor, his spear sliced her shoulder. Pain only fed her fury. The world narrowed to a tunnel of fire and vengeance. "You took everything," she screamed, slamming him into the burning wall of a house. "My mother, my home, my peace." Aldrich's eyes glowed with fear. "You're the abomination she warned me about." "Then you should have listened." With one final strike, Monica's claws plunged through his chest. His body went limp, eyes wide in disbelief. She pulled back, covered in his blood, trembling, not from pain but from what she had done. The hunters around them hesitated. None dared to move. Damien appeared beside her, grabbing her wrist. "Monica," he said firmly, "stop." Her head whipped toward him, eyes still glowing, teeth bared. "He deserved it. I know." He stepped closer, voice low, gentle. "But if you give in, you'll lose yourself, you'll become what they fear." Her breathing quickened, and suddenly she staggered, clutching her chest. The world seemed to tilt. Her pulse throbbed in sync with his. Damien caught her as she collapsed against him. Their bond flared, hot, consuming, undeniable. His heartbeat echoed in her ribs, her breath merged with his. For a moment there was no difference between them, no vampire, no hybrid. Just one shared pulse of life. "What's happening to me?" she whispered against his chest. "Our bond," he murmured, pressing his forehead to hers. "It's growing stronger. Too strong." Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly, as she stared up at him. "If it means I survive, I don't care." He looked torn, between passion and terror. "If it keeps growing like this, Monica, we won't survive it. One heartbeat can't hold two souls forever." Before she could answer, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A deep, guttural roar erupted from beneath the ruins, a sound older than time, filled with hunger and malice. The air thickened, and from the cracks in the earth seeped a crimson mist, dense and pulsating like living blood. It rolled through the village, curling around corpses, devouring flames and hissing as it touched the air. Monica stumbled back, eyes wide. "What is that?" Damien's expression darkened, his fangs glinting. "It's not mist," he said softly. "It's him." The mist pulsed, whispering in an ancient tongue neither could understand. Images flickered in Monica's mind. A beast of bone and blood, eyes like suns, wings that could blot out the moon. The devourer. The cursed heart of their shared lineage. "It's waking," she gasped. Damien grabbed her hand. "We have to go? Now?" But the mist was already spreading, crawling toward them like a tide of nightmares. Every corpse it touched twitched, spasmed, then rose again, eyes burning red. The dead hunters screamed as their own bodies turned against them. Monica clung to Damien as they ran through the chaos, flames and crimson fog closing in around them. The ground split behind them, swallowing the ruins whole. Screams echoed through the valley as the devourer's shadow began to take form beneath the crimson glow. They reached the ridge, gasping, turning back only once. Silvervale, her home, was gone. All that remained was fire and mist, a living curse spreading across the land. Monica fell to her knees, tears streaming down her blood-stained face. "I tried to protect them," she whispered, "and now I've destroyed everything." Damien knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders. "No," he said, voice trembling but fierce. "This isn't you. This is fate trying to break you, but we'll end it, together." She looked at him, broken yet burning with resolve. "Even if it kills us?" His gaze softened, his thumb brushing her cheek. "Especially if it kills us." As the fires dimmed, the crimson mist rose higher, spiraling into the sky. The ruins pulsed with a heartbeat of their own, the first sign of the devourer's awakening. In the distance, Lysandra's voice echoed on the wind. "The seal is broken. The end has begun." Chapter 11. The Devourer's Rise. The air in the ruins thickened until it felt alive, wet, heavy, pulsing with something ancient and terrible. The crimson mist that had consumed Silvervale began to move with purpose, drawing inward like a living tide. Beneath Monica's feet, the earth quaked, sending cracks through the stone floor of the underground chamber. "Damien," she whispered, clutching her chest as her heart thudded like a drum. "It's inside me. I can feel it moving." Damien's crimson eyes scanned the trembling walls. "Don't let it in. Whatever it is, fight it." But her body betrayed her. A blinding pain shot through her veins, glowing lines of gold and red streaking under her skin. She screamed, her voice echoing through the cavern as the mist solidified into shape. A monstrous being of blood and bone, rising from the ruins of the Moonblood sigil. It had wings formed from shadow and flame, a skull-like face with eyes like molten suns. The devourer, the curse-given flesh. The creature let out a roar that shook the mountains, a sound so deep it seemed to crawl through their bones. Every echo of its heartbeat mirrored Monica's own, sinking until she felt her pulse no longer belonged to her. Damien unsheathed his blade, a weapon forged from silver and night glass. "Stay behind me." But the moment he stepped forward, dozens of figures poured into the chamber. Wolves in their half-forms, vampires with their fangs gleaming. Members of both councils. The alliance born from fear, come to kill them both. "Kill the hybrid," one shouted, "before the curse consumes us all." Damien's eyes darkened with fury. "They came for you," he hissed, then cut through the first vampire who lunged at Monica. The fight erupted like wildfire. Claws met steel, blood splattered the ancient stone, and above it all, the devourer's monstrous hum echoed like a heartbeat from hell. Monica tried to fight back, but her power was unstable, too strong, too wild. Her claws glowed crimson, her fangs lengthened, her body twisting between wolf and vampire. Every strike she made against her enemies fueled the devourer's form, feeding its hunger for death. "No," she gasped, falling to her knees. "It's feeding on me." Damien drove his blade through a wolf's throat and turned to her, voice fierce. "Then starve it. You're stronger than it." "I'm not," she whispered, shaking, tears streaking through blood on her face. "It's me, Damien. It is me." The ground split open beneath them as the creature's clawed hand emerged, each talon dripping molten light. Its roar became a whisper in her mind, seductive, familiar, loving. "You are mine, Monica. I am the vengeance you buried." She staggered backward, clutching her head. Images flashed before her eyes, her mother's death, her uncle's betrayal, her father's execution, the endless whispers of being cursed. All the hate, all the pain she carried since birth, it wasn't hers anymore. It was the devourer's feast. Damien ran to her side, catching her as she stumbled. "Look at me. You're not a monster. You're my reason to fight." Her breath came out ragged. "If I stop hating, I'll have nothing left." He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Then hold on to me instead." For a second the chaos dimmed, his voice grounding her in the storm. But the calm shattered when the air tore open in a burst of violet light. A figure stepped through. Lysandra, the Witch of Ashvale. Her silver eyes glowed with urgency. "You fools! The seal wasn't meant to be broken." Damien turned, snarling. "Then tell us how to fix it." Lysandra raised her staff, her voice echoing through the chamber. "The curse cannot be slain, only rewritten through blood. The blood that cast it, and the blood that bears it. One must end the other." Monica's gaze darted between her and Damien. "You mean one of us must die?" The witch nodded grimly. "To destroy the devourer, the bloodlines must unite in sacrifice. Moonblood and Voss, together or not at all." Damien's grip on his sword faltered. "No," he said flatly, "there has to be another way." "There isn't," Lysandra replied. "Your ancestors' sin created this thing. Only your death can undo it." Monica's lips trembled. "You're saying I'll have to kill him?" Damien's hand found hers, squeezing it tight. "No, you won't. We'll find another way." "Damien, don't," he cut her off. His voice was calm, steady, but his eyes burned with heartbreak. "I didn't find you just to lose you to some prophecy." The chamber rumbled violently, shaking the stone pillars. The devourer's wings spread wide, casting shadows over them like blood-stained veils. It opened its jaws and screamed, the sound warping the air. Lysandra's magic barrier shattered instantly. "It's too late," she cried. "It's free." Monica stumbled toward the beast as if pulled by an invisible chain. "It's calling me. It wants me to finish it." Damien grabbed her arm. "You'll die if you go near it." She looked up at him, eyes glowing gold and red. "Then maybe that's what it takes." He shook his head fiercely. "No. Not like this. You're not dying for their curse." She smiled sadly, brushing his cheek. "Maybe I'm dying for you." Before he could stop her, she tore her arm free and stepped toward the heart of the chamber. Each step she took, her body shimmered between forms: wolf, vampire, woman, goddess. Power radiated from her in waves, shattering weapons, silencing screams. The devourer lowered its monstrous head, its voice a whisper of ash and flame. "You cannot deny what you are." Monica raised her hand, her voice trembling but resolute. "Maybe not. But I can decide what I'll become." She drew a sigil in the air, the same mark her mother used centuries ago, and the runes around the chamber ignited in bloodlight. The creature howled in pain, but Monica screamed with it, their souls intertwined in agony and defiance. Damien, desperate, charged toward her, but a burst of energy flung him back. His sword clattered away as he hit the wall hard. "Monica," he roared, "don't do this alone." Her eyes flickered toward him, full of love and sorrow. "You were never the curse, Damien. You were the cure." With one last cry, she poured her fury and pain into the devourer. For a moment, the two became one, light and darkness merging into a blinding explosion that turned night into day. The roar stopped. The tremors ceased. Dust and silence fell over the ruins. Damien staggered to his feet, heart pounding. "Monica?" Then came her whisper, faint, broken, echoing through the smoke. "It's coming for me." The ground cracked open as the devourer's wings erupted upward, breaking through the ceiling of the ruins. It rose into the night sky, colossal and radiant, dripping fire and blood, and as its light faded into the clouds, Monica collapsed to the floor, lifeless, her heart still glowing with the same crimson light as the monster vanishing above. Damien fell to his knees beside her, clutching her body to his chest. Tears of blood streaked his face as he whispered her name. But the echo that came back wasn't his own voice. It was hers. Distant, fading. Don't let it win. The devourer breaks free from the ruins, spreading wings of blood across the sky as Silvervale trembles. Monica's faint whisper escapes her lips before darkness takes her. "It's coming for me." Chapter 12. The Blood Oath Broken. The skies above the Crimson Citadel burned red. Lightning crackled through the storm of blood that shrouded the city. The devourer, now fully unleashed, tore through towers of marble and bone, its wings dripping molten ichor. Screams echoed through the halls as both vampires and werewolves fell alike, enemies united only by shared terror. Damien stood at the citadel gates, his sword slick with blood, eyes glowing like twin rubies. Every strike he made was in perfect rhythm with Monica's heartbeat. Even though they fought miles apart, the bond tethered them. One pulse, one breath. "Hold the lines," he roared to his soldiers, even as the ground cracked beneath his feet. The devourer's roar shook the world, a sound that seemed to split the heavens. Meanwhile, in the heart of the citadel, Monica moved through the carnage. Her hybrid form gleamed under the crimson light. Claws extended, eyes gold and red. Power pulsed from her like a living storm. But with every surge came pain, veins of fire creeping across her arms, whispering the monster's name. "It's calling me." The devourer's voice slithered in her mind. "Child of moon and blood, come home. You are mine." Monica fell to her knees, clutching her head. Visions of burning castles and dying kings flashed before her, her ancestors cursing the night itself. Then she heard another voice, familiar and commanding. "Monica!" Damien's figure emerged through the mist, wounded but unbroken. He reached her, hands trembling as he touched her face. Their bond flared so bright that time itself seemed to pause. "You shouldn't have come," she gasped, her fangs retracting. "I told you," Damien said, cupping her jaw gently, "we end this together." Before either could speak again, the walls shuddered violently. Lord Corvin, bloodied and half-mad, stumbled from the shadows. "You fools, you think love can undo centuries of sin?" He spat blood, eyes wild. "You were never meant to exist." Monica's growl filled the air, but Damien lifted a hand, silencing her. "Tell me the truth, Corvin," he demanded, his voice cold as steel. "What is the curse really?" Corvin laughed bitterly. "A farce. A jealous king's vengeance. Your ancestor, King Damien Voss, cursed the Moonblood line not out of justice, but envy. He loved the White-Fanged princess, but she chose another, a wolf. So he damned their blood forever. The curse was never divine, boy. It was personal." Monica's breath caught. "So all this death, this hatred," Damien's sword lowered. "It was born of one man's broken heart." The realization hit him like a blade through the chest. His entire dynasty, his power, his immortality, all built on a lie. "Then it ends with me," he whispered. Corvin's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" Damien turned to Monica, his voice trembling but resolute. "I'm the last of his line. If my blood casts the curse, my blood can unmake it. I can stop the devourer." Monica shook her head fiercely. No, Damien, that's suicide." He smiled sadly. It's redemption. She stepped closer, tears brimming in her golden eyes. You think I'll just watch you die, after everything we fought for? You don't have a choice, he murmured. Monica grabbed his wrist, her claws digging into his skin. Then I'll go with you. Before he could protest, the devourer burst through the citadel walls, a towering specter of bone and flame. Its eyes were endless voids, and from its maw came the voices of the damned. Blood calls to blood. The ground quaked as it lunged forward. Damien pulled Monica close, their foreheads touching amidst the chaos. I was cursed to destroy everything I love, he said, his voice breaking. But not you. Never you. She gripped his collar, trembling. Then don't leave me. He smiled faintly. We'll break fate together. Their lips met, desperate, fiery, final. The air around them exploded with crimson energy. Damien's sword, forged from the blood of his ancestors, flared with runes as he turned it toward his own chest. For the Moonblood, for you. He drove it through his heart and into the devourer's chest at once, their bond fusing the act. The beast screamed, its body imploding in a storm of bloodlight. Monica screamed his name as a tidal wave of energy engulfed them both. She could feel his life force pouring into her, his memories, his pain, his love. The runes that once cursed their lines now glowed gold, rewriting themselves. The devourer howled, collapsing in on itself, dragged back into the abyss. The citadel cracked apart, but for a brief, eternal moment, everything was still. In the center of the storm, Monica cradled Damien's fading body. His hand brushed her cheek weakly, eyes glowing faintly. It had to be one of us, he whispered. No, she sobbed, holding him tighter. It was supposed to be both. He smiled through the blood. It is. You carry me now. The light swallowed them whole. When the storm cleared, the devourer was gone, along with Damien. Only Monica remained, kneeling in the ruins, her skin etched with faint golden sigils. The world was silent, and for the first time in centuries, the blood oath was broken. The sky cleared, revealing a silver moon untouched by crimson. But as Monica lifted her gaze, a faint whisper echoed through her mind. Damien's voice, soft and lingering. This isn't goodbye, my Moonblood. The bond still lives. Chapter 13. The Last Bloodline. The world was quiet again. No screams, no roars, just the slow, solemn drift of ash falling like snow over the shattered remains of Silvervale. The once thriving village was nothing but embers and dust, the forest beyond scorched to gray. And in the heart of the ruins, Monica stirred. Her eyes opened to a pale dawn sky streaked with rose and gold. The scent of smoke filled her lungs as she pushed herself upright, every muscle trembling. Around her, the battlefield lay strewn with broken weapons and lifeless forms of both vampires and werewolves. Their centuries of hatred buried under silence. Her fingers brushed something warm beside her. She turned, and the breath left her body. Damien. He lay still, pale as the morning light, his once glowing eyes closed in peace. His sword rested across his chest, its crimson runes dim and cold. The blood mark on his wrist pulsed once, faintly, before fading away. The bond severed. No. Monica's voice cracked. She gathered him into her arms, her tears streaking dirt and ash from his face. You promised? You said we'd break fate together. But the only answer was the wind. For a long while she stayed like that, cradling him as dawn crept higher. Around them, the echoes of the battle seemed to dissolve, leaving only stillness. She could feel her blood thrumming strangely, the remnants of his energy coiled deep inside her veins like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. And then she realized, it wasn't gone. When she pressed her ear to his chest, there was no pulse. But when she closed her eyes, she felt it. Faint and rhythmic, inside her own. Damien's heartbeat. His essence had merged with hers, their souls now one. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she whispered, You stubborn fool, even in death, you refuse to let go. The air shimmered faintly. and a soft feminine voice rose from behind her. "You've rewritten the stars, child of moon and blood." Monica turned. Lysandra the Witch Queen stood amidst the ruins, her silver cloak untouched by ash. Her eyes gleamed with quiet wonder. The prophecy was never meant to end in destruction. It was a riddle, a promise hidden beneath sorrow. Monica rose shakily, still clutching Damien's sword. "A promise?" Lysandra nodded. "The Moonblood sacrifice was not to erase the bloodline, but to renew it. Through his death and your bond, the curse is broken, and the world begins anew. You are both wolf and vampire, light and dark, the bridge they tried to destroy." Monica's gaze fell to the faint gold-crimson veins glowing under her skin. She felt no pain, no burning. The sun was rising, and yet her flesh did not smoke. The light felt warm, alive. "The curse is gone," she whispered. "The curse," Lysandra said softly, "was love misunderstood." She looked toward the horizon. "Go now, Monica Voss. What was destroyed can be rebuilt. The councils will scatter, the old ways will fade. The world will remember this day not as its end, but its beginning." Monica lowered her head. "And Damien?" The witch's expression softened. "He lives within you. Not as shadow, but as flame. The first of a new kind, born from unity, not bloodshed." A tremor passed through Monica's chest. Sorrow, love, peace. She closed her eyes as the dawn wind swept through the ruins, lifting her hair and carrying the faint scent of rain. When she opened them again, Lysandra was gone, leaving only the whisper of ancient magic in the air. With trembling hands, Monica began her final task. She carried Damien's body to what was once the Moonblood castle, now a mound of broken stone and tangled ivy. The ground there was sacred, the birthplace of the curse, and now the place where it would rest. She dug with her bare hands until the soil turned dark and soft, then laid him down gently. "Rest," she murmured, brushing his hair from his face. "The world you dreamed of will rise again. No more wars, no more hate, just peace." She placed his sword beside him and pressed a kiss to his forehead. The runes flared faintly one last time before dimming forever. As she covered him with earth, tears blurred her vision. But they weren't of despair. They were of gratitude. He had given her a future when the world had given her nothing. When it was done, Monica stood before the makeshift grave, blood and soil staining her hands. Then, for the first time, she looked toward the horizon, the rising sun spilling gold over the blackened fields. The light touched her skin, and instead of burning, it embraced her. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. "I'll rebuild it," she whispered. "A world where no one is hunted for their blood." The warmth deepened, wrapping around her like a promise. Somewhere deep inside, she heard his voice. Soft and steady. "You already have." A faint smile touched her lips. The mark on her wrist shimmered one last time, forming a delicate symbol, half moon, half drop of blood. The sign of the new bloodline. She turned her back on the ruins and began to walk. Each step felt lighter, freer. The wind carried whispers of wings, echoes of the devourer now gone, its hatred consumed by peace. The first rays of sunlight crowned her hair in gold as she stepped out of the ruins and into the open plains. Birds returned, their songs fragile but real. Behind her lay centuries of blood and sorrow, ahead, rebirth. And as she vanished into the morning light, her eyes gleamed faintly, one crimson, one golden. The balance was restored. Her voice carried through the quiet, echoing the ancient prophecy that had once doomed them. Centuries ago, the curse divided them. But in their blood, love rewrote eternity. The wind rose, scattering ash into the light. And thus ended the tale of the Moonbloods, not in tragedy, but in the dawn of a new world. The end. If you want to read this story and other amazing stories, visit the Bond Reader website or download the app on the Google Play Store. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you.